Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 219 for February 14th. I got it right! I was so worried about saying like 214 on 219 or, oh God, I don't know.
It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you wonder what we do for our Valentine's Day? We sit here and talk about video games.
You know what? I even said if you go back on last night's show, what did I record last night?
I don't know. I was asleep.
Oh God, no! I didn't record last night. We skipped. We skipped 8-bit last night because it's hard to play games when you're asleep. Like the past couple of weeks or days, like I have like come home and like dead, flat out dead.
Well, the little one's been preventing sleep.
Yeah,
pretty hardcore the last couple of days.
Oh my God. But anyway, I did on the Mana Drain episode, I did say I'm not so sure if we're going to have a Ball and Chain podcast this week. It just all depends because of the holiday. So I did put that out into the universe, but you were like, no, let's record a podcast. That's your exact words. I know.
Really?
It was your exact words.
Yeah, sure.
So we're hanging out here with our friends. Looks like we got Cliff in there. What's up, Cliff? On Facebook, we've got Andrew watching us. What's happening, guys? If you're on Twitter, I even started drinking it. I had a little bit of your wine, but just a little bit. On Twitch, we appreciate you guys watching on Twitch. If you're watching sometime in the future on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online, we really appreciate it. Make sure while you're there to get subscribed, leave us a comment, do all the fun things that tells everybody we're out here talking about video games. But before we get into that, what is the Ball and Chain podcast, Amanda? Angel?
We sit here and talk about things that entertain us.
Right.
Games, movies, TV shows, whatever
Silly
the heck
cat
we
videos.
feel like talking about, really. I mean, it initially didn't start out that way, but it's kind of what it's evolved into.
Right. We started out just talking about video games and reviews and stuff like that.
Video games for couples.
Oh, that's right. We did do that. That's the Ball and Chain part of it. Yeah. That's pretty good. But yeah, it's kind of evolved over time. But
you run out of so many video games for couples to really talk about, I guess, on a weekly basis for 219 episodes.
Yeah, going well over 10 years. Because I think that the post came up on my Facebook feed. But the Facebook feed is their memory thing. Their dates are off sometimes.
Well, it may be when you post, especially back before you had smartphones. I mean,
right.
Because old people, didn't have smartphones back then. And you may have, taken a whole bunch of pictures on your regular camera and then uploaded them at the end of the month.
That's true.
So it might say, February 28th, and it has a whole bunch of pictures that became the month prior.
Right.
Because you uploaded them on that date.
Gotcha. Anyway.
Because we're old like that.
Because we're old. This was before smartphones. We were podcasting.
Hell, I met you on MySpace.
That's
to date ourselves.
That's a thing. That's yes, MySpace. Is MySpace even a thing anymore?
It exists.
Does it?
It's more or less like a music type thing.
Well, that's what it was. That's kind of the main thing. Holy smokes! It looks way different.
Yeah, but it does exist. Yes, and I think my profile was maybe still there. Actually,
I don't even remember what mine was. That's all right though. Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
I won't.
Anyway, so what are we talking about today? We've got top 3. We've got indie retailers are dropping Microsoft due to Game Pass. There's a whole debacle about that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about life lessons learned from board games. CNN did
we not already talk about that? Or did we think about talking about that a long time ago and we just haven't podcasted in a minute?
Well, I didn't entitle the outline 219.5, but the name of the document is 219.5. We didn't record a podcast in 2 weeks. So those 2 news articles are from the last podcast that we didn't do. And then the newest article, since it's number 1... that we're going to talk about is Spyro is getting a Trilogy remastered coming out soon. It's still a rumor, but multiple sources confirm that its existence is
as it should be.
as you know, is coming. Before we get in that, let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing and what we've been kind of enjoying.
Wine.
Lots of
Enjoying.
Where's
wine.
the rum?
Enjoying of wine.
So I want to go first because this is really cool. This series right here, The Amazing Spider-Man, you can't really read it because I picked a really bad issue to. Here, let's do this.
Yeah, the shininess.
We'll take off the shine.
Does not help.
Yeah, so let's.
Sorry, I'm
there we go. There we go. The Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. If you can read their god-awful text that they picked for the Renew Your Vows part. So, I haven't really been... Actually, I haven't really been. I haven't been into comics at all. Like, one bit. I think for a Christmas, I think it was Christmas, you got me the compendium. Yeah, well, compendium for the first 100 issues of... I don't even think it's the first 100 issues. For Walking Dead. Yeah.
That was what, a year ago?
Yeah, I think it was last year. Which I wouldn't even consider that a comic book at that point. Like, that's more of like a collection of every comic that was released from, from that time frame or whatever. But I really haven't been into it, and Eli is kind of getting into the superheroes a little bit, and I'm kind of pushing him into it a little bit, maybe too much. You think so? All right, well, but I wanted to do something that we could enjoy together, that we could have for us. And Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, and I feel like I let him pick out, which one he liked or whatever, and this is the one he kind of went with, or one of the ones he went with. But this is issue, or this I guess comic line. I don't know what they call them. Series. I don't know. Is basically a time-shifted universe where Peter Parker marries Mary Jane, and they have a kid, and all three of them, and the kid is probably Eli's age, actually, maybe a little bit older, and they're all superheroes together. So it's Spider-Man, Spiderling, and Spinneret is the mom, is Mary Jane. But this is just kind of following their life or whatever as a family, and it's really cool because it's not, and I have a feeling that this is probably a very hated comic book because it's not, there's some action points in it, but there's conversations in the real world. Like Mary Jane runs her own business, her own fashion business. She has a blog, and she's trying to be a superhero, and there's strips inside of each of these comics that reference it, and it's talking about doing laundry, and very much like the family life of a mom, and Peter's in the same boat or whatever, talking about in the banter. And it's funny because it comes into the banter in the comments in the combat scenes and stuff like that, like, I'll let me finish off this guy, you hurry home and start dinner or something like that. And so it's very family friendly, I guess. It says it's teen, rated T for teen or whatever, but...
And you're reading it with a 7-year-old.
I am, but...
I didn't realize that comic books had ratings.
Yeah,
I don't...
Yeah.
I mean, I've never looked at a comic book, honestly.
I imagine that's a relatively new thing. Like, maybe the last 10, 15, 20... I mean, you think about video games...
CDs.
Yeah, CDs and all that stuff. Well, CDs really didn't have ratings. They just did parental advisory. Like, if they swore more than twice, then they got that stamp with that sticker. But video games didn't have... The ESRB didn't start until the Nintendo 64 era, like in the mid-90s. Like the Super Nintendo, all that stuff, they didn't have... None of those had ratings.
Right. If you can tell what's going on a Super Nintendo game,
yeah, there's
that's the thing. It's
right.
There's such pixel graphics.
Right. There's definitely no, But anyway, so we've really been enjoying that. I mean, if you're not into comics, which I can tell you that I'm not, this is an easy to read, easy to follow storyline. There's only a few story arcs that go from one issue to the next. Most of them are kind of wrapped up, which is nice in that one issue. There is an overarching story plot with Henry's son. Henry Osborn's dead in this comic line, or this universe, I guess.
Harry?
Or Harry, yeah, Harry. But he has a son, that's kind of taken over the Osborne company and name, and he's pursuing Spinneret and Spiderling because he's quote unquote he's interested in them. So, but it brings in like the X-Men. X-Men characters are in there. We just finished an X-Men character issue with Magneto and stuff like that. The current villain right now is Spinneret has the symbiote, the Venom symbiote on her. She was tricked into wearing it or whatever. But yeah, it's a pretty cool storyline. Apparently, like the Spider-Man's abilities are transferred to his wife Mary Jane and his daughter while he's around or whatever. So that's what gives them their abilities. I don't know how it works or whatever, but that kind of started this whole reason for Mary Jane to like searching for other sources of power or other sources of energy, so that she wasn't, depleting Peter of all of his while they were like in combat together. So yeah, this is a current. It's in the issues are in. I guess you call it in season. Again, I don't know what the terminology is, but in season right now. So you can, I think they're on issue like 15 or 16. So they're pretty easy to find.
Interesting. Yeah. I've never, like I said, I don't know anything about comic books.
If you're in the Dayton area and you want a good comic book store, I highly recommend Bell Book and Comic. Like, I can't say enough.
They recently expanded.
Oh God, yeah, because they originally had their store, and then there's another company that had a storefront in front to the right, and then they had their annex where they hosted all their events or whatever. But it looks like that middle store has left or gone out of business or moved or whatever because Bell Book now occupies those three storefronts. If that tells you how big they're getting. But the other comic book stores and card stores, they had a few of these, but they had the more recent ones, but didn't have like the older ones.
You guys started on issue 1, right?
We went back and started with issue 1.
Primarily because you were looking for something to like
continue
read
on.
start to finish.
Read start to finish, and we wanted a week. The one guy at Epic Loot says this comes out about once a month. So it's something that's not going to break the bank, but $4 every month to enjoy build something or whatever. So I don't know, it's a lot of fun. That's what I've been up to. What about you? What have you been playing or doing or? Sorry, kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, I'm not really sure what I play or do really. Well, we haven't played that yet. Okay, so
we haven't played that yet. But what did we talk about for like at length? A couple
pointing to Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. So we finally, this is a game, and we talked about it on the last episode, how we were stuck on
book 5.
Right, the game 5. It's a deck building, not card building, deck building game. And we finally made it through all 7 books. I mean, Harry Potter, I would hope most everybody would know, is like a 7-book series. So the game builds upon itself, and you play through the different books. Book 5 is next to impossible. It took us, I don't know how many nights, like three or four solid nights.
If you go back and listen, there's I'm sure we've put it in the description, but there was, I don't know, it was a week's worth of play. I think we played the game 10 times, or that one book 10 times and couldn't beat it.
Right. We finally did get through.
Right.
And then 6 and 7 were tough, but we were able to, I mean, it wasn't like infuriating like book 5.
Right.
And so the other day you went out to Friday Night Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to get some trade in and picked up the Hogwarts Battle expansion. We've not had an opportunity to play it. I've been working a lot on my photography business the last few nights. But hopefully here we'll get some game time in, possibly this weekend. And so what this expands upon is it's about, like, I guess, going into the Forbidden Forest. So it adds a few different, from just reading the instructions here, it adds a few different variants to the game. So not only do you have your villains, but you also have creatures, and then you have villain creatures.
What?
Right. So there's a little bit of difference to that. There's encounter cards, which would be similar to the Horcrux cards. Book 7, as you may know, those people who watch or read Harry Potter, the Horcruxes you had to destroy in order to destroy Voldemort. That's where his soul was placed in. Come into play. It's a new card type in Game 7. And you had to roll these dice basically in a certain combination in order to destroy them. So we have encounter cards now, which are similar. And so, yeah, I believe this has 4 additional games within it. So not like similar to the book 1 through 7. But 4 additional games and a new playable character. Luna Lovegood is a new playable character. However, you still can only play 4 characters, so you would have somebody sitting out. Right. If you do play her, you also have to take her ally card out of the deck because she can't be an ally and be in play.
Oh, really?
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of does break. It does break the story
right.
or the.
There's also a new element called detention. Again, not super familiar with that, and banishing cards. And I think there was something else we had talked about.
Well, I think this didn't you say that this branches off of book 5? Like you don't play book 6 or 7's elements with this expansion, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing it because the game was a lot of fun. Even getting destroyed in that book 5 or whatever multiple times in a row. I think we've discovered like you just can't lose the first location.
Yeah. So you shuffle together with 5 randomly chosen villain cards from the original game, but you use the game 5 Lord Voldemort face up on the bottom of the stack.
Oh, okay.
So
you only use 5 bad guys and then plus Voldemort from game 5?
And you use the creatures, the 2 villain creature cards plus 5 randomly chosen villain cards.
Okay.
Which sounds pretty. I mean, that's quite a few.
Right.
Bad guys.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's cooperative. Like we've been playing it because once you get past like book 3 or 4, you have to have 4 players. Like there's no possible way to do it with just 2. Right. So we've been each been controlling 2 characters. But I imagine if you play it with a group of 4 people, it gets a little bit kind of more mellow. Like there's not as much going on. It doesn't seem like there's as much going on. But all right, let's get into our top 3 then. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about. How's your wine? Looks like it's going pretty good.
Yeah.
Should have brought the bottle down.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Save some for tomorrow.
Wait, what's tomorrow?
I don't know.
Thursday.
Thursday.
All right, let's talk about indie retailers are threatening to drop Microsoft products due to Game Pass. So Game Pass hasn't been anything new for a while now, but one of the things that did bring up a lot of controversy is Microsoft recently announced that they were going to include Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and Crackdown 3, which are 3 first-party titles included in Game Pass day 1 with their respective releases. And this kind of got all some of the smaller retailers up in arms because their argument's pretty solid. Like, hey, how are we supposed to sell these games for you when somebody can go online and pay $10 or heck even sign up for a 10-day free trial or something like that and have access to all these games, including ones that just released. So they're coming from it. From like a bottom line, their bottom line trying to keep the lights on perspective. And they're kind of overreacting in my opinion because they're saying things like, oh, well, we're going to we'll start, we won't resupply and we'll go to Sony where we get, some, better support and things like that. So like they're threatening like not resupplying on like peripherals and systems and things of that nature over these 3 games.
Right.
But I mean, just with that information, like how do you feel like? Do you feel like they have like a leg to stand on? Do you think this is bad for Microsoft? Like, is it bad for the gamers?
I guess I just don't understand why there's. I mean, other systems are doing something very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a new concept,
Right?
So I don't understand the big deal on it.
I think you're still gonna have customers that want a digital copy or want a physical copy of the game.
Right, especially things that are like the special editions that come with extra little bonuses.
Right.
So upsell those.
Exactly. So that actually kind of brings up a really good point. Upsell those, like make customers want to come in to buy those special editions, or
you're making more money than you would initially.
Right. Or even like having those special release parties, or we think back to when we had new Call of Duty games come out, or we would run LAN parties at the GameStop or at our local GameStop, and we didn't drive any additional business because we didn't advertise. It was just for the people who are there, showed up. But GameStop this isn't even GameStop. This is just indie retailers. Put some advertising of put your money where your mouth is, and get out and advertise and do your have special events that people that have the Game Pass can't get. But I mean, going back to the original point that we made, we're kind of like a house divided. I'm starting to turn a corner on all the digital stuff. Like, I love filling up my hard drive with digital games because it's easier to switch. I don't have to control any game, make sure games don't get scratched, especially with youngsters running around. I don't have to worry about Eli sticking multiple games into the system. But you, on the other hand, you're like, I want the physical disc.
Yeah, I mean, go back to the days where you had the nice big instruction book.
Oh yeah, I miss those days too, but those days are long gone. Like, there's very few games that if you don't
come with a nice thick manual.
Right, you're paying the premium. Those types of manuals are now sought as premiums that are in the special editions. The $100 games that
I mean, I'm not talking a book, but the nice insert that used to come in the case.
No, I get you. So indie retailers are kind of up in arms, and Microsoft actually came back and had a response, which is kind of unheard of. And they doubled down. Like, they did not cave, which most companies that have that type of relationship with a third party vendor would probably, because they want to keep them happy, right? But so part of the quote was from Microsoft says, in fact, we've been pleasantly surprised with the breadth of demand from retailers so far, and we're considering if and how we broaden our distribution plans. We welcome feedback on our plans, and we continue to evolve our plans as appropriate. We have a long history of partnership with independent stores around the world, and continue to believe that they play a unique and valuable part in our ecosystem. So that was from Microsoft themselves. So they didn't cave. They pretty much said, we're going to continue as planned. We haven't got a lot of pushback. It sounds like there's just a loud minority that are pissed off. So, if you've got, and I don't understand like how, if you're a small retailer, how you can justify saying, well, I'm not going to help out, I'm going to just cut off my Xbox customers altogether, not just from these 3 games, but from anything.
Right.
Restocking, and I'm just going to go
lose more money in the long run.
Right, exactly. Like, you're kind of picking a fight with Goliath here, I think. And that's, it's great to voice your opinion, but to actually go on and say, yeah, we're not going to restock your shit anymore. It's kind of a little dramatic, in my opinion. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to start to try this Game Pass thing, because, there's a ton of games that we haven't played that from the last couple of years that are on these lists. Between what between
the PlayStation one had so many titles.
Right, PlayStation had PlayStation had over 500 games on their list. Granted, those go back further than Xbox or Microsoft's list goes, but the simple fact is it's less than half of the cost of a single game per month. You can get and you can pause and there's no
just pick up and play whatever you want.
Yeah, right. So it's
almost like a Netflix, but games.
Yep. So you've got you have a lull coming up in your gaming forecast or whatever, like coming up. Like right now, like there's no game that I want to play until I think the next game that comes.
You haven't finished Zelda yet, have you?
I have not. I do need to finish that.
It's been a minute since you've played it.
I know, and we'll talk about that another day. That's another whole nother conversation. But like, let's say there's some time that you don't have anything to play. Like the next game that I'm looking forward to playing is God of War, and that doesn't come out for months. And there's just nothing that's interesting to me whatsoever in the video game world. So like, hey, for the next 4 months, I can go back and pick up something that I missed from last year. We went over those list of games that we would want to go back and play or whatever. Rather than picking up a game for $60 that's months old, I can say, all right, well, let's give Microsoft $10, pick it up, play it for a month, and then if anybody should be mad, I would think like Redbox would be furious, right? Like, I think they would be more upset than anybody.
Right, it's people who are renting things for short periods of time
versus
people who are...
Exactly. So, anyway, all right. So moving on. So that was on Shack News that they had their that report. Moving on. So this was I found this on CNN. This next topic. This is life lessons from board games. It's a topic or an article that was entitled "It's All Fun and Games." It was written by David Allen on CNN, which he's actually got a pretty cool setup for like all of his articles and everything. It's on the CNN website, but his like little page or whatever is called "Go Ask Your Dad." And it's a whole bunch of stuff about parenting and gaming and stuff like that. It's actually really impressive. I'm not a fan of CNN by any stretch of the imagination, but there's some really good information and like on this website. This guy clearly is on top of his game as far as like editorial purposes go. But the article that sparked my interest was this one called "It's All Fun and Games." It kind of goes over what types of things we learn from board games and like just the life lessons that we can instill in our children, and how board games can be used as a teaching tool and not necessarily about it's all fun and game. So I pulled out the question and put it on Facebook and was saying, and was asking people like, oh, what kind of things do you remember as a kid? What board games do you remember playing as a kid, and what life lessons did you guys learn or whatever? Or what are you playing with your kids? Kind of instill the same thing. I probably should have made it shorter because I got a lot of just retro games like Monopoly and.
That's what we played because you asked what did we play when we were young. Of course, we like retro games because we're retro.
Right. No, I understand that, but like I was also looking for like the part B of like what kind of lessons were learned in these games, and the vast majority of people put on there like Stratego, which is a fantastic game. Learning pre-planning and being able to identify threats and things like that. Read your opponent.
I think we talked about like Battleship and Clue, both kind of like deductive reasoning.
Right.
Like I know like this, it's not this, so I can pick that it's this.
Right. So. Right. Predicting outcomes is another thing. Like, okay, I have these people in my hand and these items or whatever, these locations. The other thing that I really liked was the critical thinking part, and I'm playing Magic with Eli is kind of breaking that barrier down of like, okay, if you do this, what if I had something like this? And that stops your plan altogether, right? So critical thinking, trying to read your opponent, trying to understand, like, planning ahead, and
Yeah, let alone like hit points and trying to do subtraction and things like that too. So
right, which he outlines in there as well as finding patterns, math, reading, communication is a big thing, and then focus too. Trying to instill focus in
right.
children is difficult.
Well, and that, like, coping with how do you lose? Just talking about like the
Yes.
basic games when you Candyland Chutes and Ladders. Yeah, it's just a matter of pulling up the right color. Which again, okay, so you get the right color cards. So not only you're learning colors,
Right.
but yeah, teaching them that they're not going to win every single time, and how do you deal with that? And
I think that is a huge lesson that gets missed almost all the time nowadays. Is what everybody gets a participation trophy. Nobody is a loser, right? And the thing is, like, we as a species, we've kind of gone away from we've more of the touchy feely, like, oh well, we don't want to call them a loser, it's going to hurt their feelings. No, they lost the game. The other team tried harder, or had, in Candyland's sake, had better luck. Like, trying to deal with that, and process that is something that can't be taught overnight. And I think the longer you go without teaching that, the harder it is to learn. Like, you have adults that can't cope with losing. I see it every day. So, like, it's just, boo-hoo me, it's not fair kind of attitude. And I think, if people will sit down and spend, 45 minutes playing one of these games with their kids and making it a regular part of their, weekend or their evening, or that one gaming night where you turn off the tablets and the screens and the TV and then the YouTube, turn off YouTube. Like, it's,
Yeah.
it does them really good. So, it also in here, which is really cool, which I found out, which I was like, I find hilarious, is exactly like he's got a list of games on here for ages, for different age ranges and things like that, to kind of get them going. And like, Owl Hoot is on here. This is a fantastic cooperative game.
I had never heard of, I think your sister or your mom, somebody
got it for Eli, and
ago.
we were like, oh, that's fun. It's it's a board game for kids, and it turns out to be one of the greatest cooperative games that you can play with your kids. And even, it says 4 and up, even Eli being 7 still has fun playing this game.
Right. I mean, and cooperation, along with cooperation, the communication part, looking ahead and saying, okay, well, if somebody is going to be able to play this, then we all need to, because essentially you're playing cards, you're moving characters onto a color square.
Right.
If that color square is not available, then you move further ahead.
Right.
So it's advantageous to all play the same color if you have it.
Right.
So that communication, and you do play open-handed with your cards on the table, but the communication and looking ahead as far as what everybody else on the table's got, and it's a lot of fun, and again, it's not something I'd heard of before, but it's definitely one that I recommend when people ask me for kid games too.
Right. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Like, just Hoot Owl Hoot is just a great game. Let's see here, what other Pictionary is another one for 5 and up. That one's we haven't played that one, but that I think could be a lot of fun, especially with kids that like to draw.
Hangman. I mean, Eli went through a phase on that for a minute there. We haven't played it in a while, but especially kids that are learning to spell simple words, it's a good one.
Yep. And then they've got like Connect 4, which I like Connect 4 more so than checkers, but just being, knowing the difference between an offense and defense, which is what he writes in here, and patterns, and trying to, plan ahead and, kind of like read your opponent kind of thing on a very simple level.
Battleship, we play a lot of Battleship. It's ages 7 and up, which
right.
is 7 currently.
I want to get him playing Stratego.
I've never played it.
We've got next time we go up to Tiffin, we're gonna grab the original copy that we've got that my parents got for me when I was a kid. It's this really sweet. It's a very simplistic game, and trying to think if I can remember how to play it. So you have just like this checkered board, right? And it's got like a map underneath it just for, fun purposes, but any character can move on any part of the checkered board. But you've got these little tower looking things. On one side they're just plain that faces your opponent. On the other side it has what the character is. So there's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And basically the lower number, you run these little characters into each other, right? And whoever has the lower number wins, right? So, and you could say there's also like a spy, and there's the only thing that the spy can't kill is the 1 or something like that, or the only I don't know. But anyway, there's a whole structure to the combat system, and there's like bombs, and you're trying to save, and you're basically trying to capture the other player's flag. The flag and the bombs don't move, and the only way to disarm a bomb is to use your spy. Otherwise, you'll just keep running people into it, and they'll just keep dying, right? So by process, and you don't tell the other opponent. Basically, it's basically the first person to capture the flag wins, essentially. But I think the structure behind it is awesome, because you can plan out your field however you want. So you could put your flag in the very front, and hope that the person doesn't come straight for it and goes, because most of the time it'll be in one of the corners, right, with bombs surrounding it. So anyway, that's Stratego. But yeah, so this article is really good. I highly recommend it. We'll put it in the link below, or in the links below. But if you go to CNN's website and just search for it's all fun and games, it'll bring it right up. So, and he's also got a link to Alan's little page called "Don't Ask Your Dad" or "Go Ask Your Dad." So life lessons with board games. All right, so the rumor mill is turning. Kotaku released a story yesterday or the day before, the 13th, yesterday. Spyro is getting a Trilogy remaster for the PS4 this year. It says they've got multiple sources that are confirming that there is going to be an announcement coming out in March, that the release date for the game will be in quarter 3 of 2018. This kind of goes in line with the original release of the original Spyro, which was in September. So they're kind of thinking that that's going to be the
kind of like an anniversary type deal.
It's the 20th anniversary of the original one. So they're thinking September is probably going to be like a good launching window for them, just to kind of play off of that nostalgia. It's going to be a timed exclusive for PS4 and PS4 Pro, which is great. This is another reason why you should buy a PS4 Pro. Is you're going to take advantage of the better equipment and internals of the PS4. So look better, run smoother, sound better on the PS4 Pro. And then next it'll come out in 2019 for the other systems. So it'll have the first.
Really, it'll be on other systems. Mm-hmm. Because it was a PlayStation-only game originally, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They didn't announce what other systems it's going to be on, but
right.
It says it will be.
Because I wanted to say it was only for. I know we had a PlayStation growing up, and that's
it was only on PlayStation.
What we had. I mean, my sister's not I wouldn't call my sister a gamer or really into video games, but. We had a PlayStation and Spyro. She played through I don't know how many times. So. Yep.
So it looks like you're getting 3 titles. You're getting Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage. Ripto's Rage. I guess is that the villain?
Yep.
Ripto's Rage, and then the Year of the Dragon is the third game you'll be getting. There's also some information circling around the interweb saying that you're going to have access to some deleted scenes and deleted levels and things like that. So the actual game itself is going to be a complete remaster of like the visuals, the soundtrack and music is going to be all remastered. The company that's doing it, that's redoing this, is called Vicarious Visions, which is the same studio that did the Crash Bandicoot relaunch last year, and from what I've read, the Crash Bandicoot one was really, really good. One of the things they did change about the Crash release was the saving features. Apparently, the saving was pretty. It's probably. I mean, it was what, the 1990s, the mid 90s. So save features were kind of non-existent or very punishing, to say the very least. So they're bringing that into the 2000s.
I was trying to figure out who originally. It was Insomniac that originally released Spyro.
Insomniac.
Which they also did. They did quite a few. Insomniac and Naughty Dog.
Insomniac did the
Ratchet and
Clank. They also did the Infamous, or was that Sucker Punch? I don't remember now.
But pretty big, and Naughty Dog did some of the Spyro games too.
Right. So looking forward to that for sure. But yeah, the Crash Bandicoot one turned out really good. At least it's been well received from fans and from critics. So this one should fall in suit. So that'll be fun. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No.
All right. Well, that's episode 219, guys. Really do appreciate you watching. Make sure you head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed. Leave us a comment on the video below. We really do appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. All right.
Yeah, just burning myself.
Stop burning yourself. Jeez. We go live every Wednesday, roughly about 8 o'clock, depending on what time the kid goes to bed.
Closer to 9 tonight.
Yeah, it's closer to 9 tonight because we had some work to do. But you can watch us on twitch.tv/72DPI online. And that's about it. I'll be back tomorrow night. We're gonna with the Laundry Day stream. Still not sure what we're gonna play. I did finish Star Wars Battlefront 2 finally.
Good job.
The game is awesome. I didn't even play the multiplayer, which is what it's well known for. But the single player is fantastic.
Cool.
I don't know what we'll play tomorrow night. Maybe we'll play Zelda tomorrow night. So I'm very early in that game. So, anyway. All right, guys. We'll tune in tomorrow. We'll have some gameplay for you, and we'll have some fun. Until next week, have a great week.